somebody started running their dog, and their dog was kind of like ping-ponging all over the place. So we stopped them. And when we stopped, we started to chat. And I'll be honest with you, I did not even hear the conversation because I was looking at the dog. And I said, lip licking, scratching, genital checking. Those three things happened immediately. Boom, boom, boom. And I think the handler even looked down, and somebody, about the time the dog yawned, and somebody said, and the dog just yawned. And then it was quiet for a second. And then that dog took that deep breath and said, okay, start your dog again. And they started their dog again. And it was in about 25 seconds, they had found all three hides.
Canine Detection Collaborative. We bring the conversation straight to you. Training tips and helpful hints you'll actually use. Real insights from real experts with a side of laughs. Canine Detection Collaborative is where it's at. It all comes down to just one thing, helping our dogs be the best they can be. Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hey everybody, it's Stacy Barnett from Canine Detection Collaborative, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Robin Greubel.
Hello.
And we also have Bob Deeds back with us. Hey Bob, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good, doing really good.
Fabulous. Well, the three of us recently wrapped up teaching intentional handling and hide setting, and it was a super cool week. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that, some of the things that came out of that. And I have to say, I love the changes that we made this year for this larger format for the 15 students and some of the modifications that we made. And I think so far we're getting really positive feedback on that. But why don't we maybe we can kind of talk about maybe some of our like high level reflections and maybe kind of get into it. And for those of you who are living under a rock and don't know what intentional handling and hide setting is, it's a workshop that we've put together. Robin and I we brainstormed this. We baked the idea a few years ago, and it's kind of evolved a little bit. And it's a workshop that's really based off of, there's a handling component and then there's a hide setting component. And the handling is based on what is called intentional handling. You know, it's all about making sure that you're not overhandling, but you're not underhandling either. And it's being purposeful with everything you do from a handling perspective in order to both maximize the independence of the dog, but also make sure that you're also maximizing the effectiveness of the dog without overdoing it. So, and I know that's not actually our written down definition. We do have one, but we have that. And then the other half of it is hide setting, so that not only are we intentionally handling, we're also intentionally training. So it's a whole week dedicated to that. And this year we had a heavily detection focused camp. And this camp is also, it's not just for one kind of odor. We are completely odor agnostic. So we do get a lot of nose work people. We also get a lot of people from human remains detection. We've had conservation in the past. We've had live find in the past. We've had trailing in the past. We get all kinds of, whatever kind of odor people are on. We've got another one coming up. We're going to have some explosives in there. It's basically whatever the dogs are on. So it's a really cool cross-pollination. And like I said, this year we were really heavily focused on detection. So that's kind of like the little bit of the high-level overview of what we did. That was the commercial. So if you're like, oh, cool, that sounds great. Now we're going to kind of some of our reflections. So if you guys want to start, because I've been jabbering for a while.
My biggest thing was they got 6 searches in a day.
Yeah.
Right. And it was hot and we had to do some juggling and we pushed them.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing these teams go from basically, we were going from boxes and working inside all the way out to clearing the hayfield and letting them see how the same stuff applies was fascinating for me.
What about you, Bob?
My biggest thing with this, And something that started for me, I'm going to back up a little bit. 20 something, between 20 and 25 years ago, I got invited to teach at a dog scout camp to teach detection. And I was working with, pet dog people. And I remember calling Karen after the first session saying, what do I do? Because a lot of these dogs don't have air drive, I mean, there is like nothing there. And she said, just do what you do, just problem solve. And I did. And by the end of the weekend, they had odor recognition and could even pinpoint some source and stuff. And I was blown away. I was blown away then. And now looking at the sport dog and the couple of HR handlers that we had there this weekend, I have always had a tendency, and this is bad, Bob, this is on me, to not push people as hard as they need to be pushed. And you guys kind of stepped it up. Like you said, this was not easy, what we did. I mean, they were working in barns with donkey dung all over the place and rat poop. And I mean, it was tough conditions. And these guys absolutely rocked it. And my feeling coming away from this is I can throw anything at them. And if I do it in a method that gives them a systematic approach to it, which we did, and you guys wrote the curriculum, so I'm not going to take any credit for that, but we did a systematic approach to it, they can do it.
Yeah.
We just have to give them the challenge to do it. And these guys were incredible. I loved watching, where we were talking about like position of the shoulder or moving the shoulder, simply taking a step to help a dog get into position to potentially find source or find odor. And watching them, you could see them like intentionally turn their shoulder. And it wasn't pretty if you're looking at a dance move, but it was mechanically sound. It wasn't too much. It was just enough to help, but not enough to create a dog that was helpless. And it was a great experience. Another thing, just to let the audience know about stuff going on that weekend, we had a donkey drop the day that I got there. Donkey was born, puppy's born either that night or next day, sometime overnight.
The day before.
Yeah, we were going to have a meeting to kind of catch me up to speed on what was going on. Well, that wasn't able to happen. There was just too many things going on.
Here you go. Here's the go by. This is what you're doing.
This was great. Found the syllabus and I thought, oh, cool. Let's look at what we're going to teach, And it kind of started that way. And it was phenomenal. It was just phenomenal. I think part of it for me is I didn't have time to overthink it.
Oh, yeah.
I was in the deep and I was swimming, man. It was just,
We threw you in for like sink or swim,
which was
dude,
great.
and you
Which
were
was
amazing.
absolutely great. The students absolutely rocked this.
They did.
And I told them in the after action, I told them that this was not baloney. I told them, I said, we didn't have a weak link in the group. Well, a lot of times you're pulling one or two people along and everybody else, is following, but you're having to pull a couple of people. That was not the case. These people did their homework at night. They did what they were supposed to do. You guys wrote a challenging course. We laid it out. They did it. Bingo, it was done. It was incredible.
Yeah. It's also super cool. Like when we look at the dogs that we have there in the span of the breeds, I mean, we had everything from a Papillon and a Border Terrier through Labradors and a Malinois. Like we had everything. And the super cool thing was actually to see everybody just really dig in and learn and improve and support each other. And it was this like just supportive environment. And you could see everybody was just there to just like, it really was absolutely amazing to see these
people
folks
train the dogs in front of them. And that was the beautiful part. If I don't know how many of those people were coaches as well as trainers that work with other students.
Yeah, a few. Yeah.
But I figured out that a few of them were. And from that standpoint, the stuff those people had to learn, watching the individual dogs work that were all different, all different, but watching those handlers work their dogs, it was absolutely beautiful. Beautiful.
I think the thing that I really, really loved to see is by the end of the week on Friday afternoon, we're doing everybody's melting and all of that sort of stuff, right? Because it's hot. We've got Iowa corn sweat, the whole thing. And the number of handlers who recognized that they actually had more dog than they thought they did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we were able to say, well, you can still support your dog, but you do not have to step in and solve it. And so the dogs are building confidence throughout the entire week. At the end, where they're like, no, I'm going to take this off lead because my dog absolutely does this better off lead.
It was awesome.
It was super amazing. And I just was so happy for them. And it was, I think they also really appreciated the fact that, yes, they're getting 6 searches a day. So the dog's got lots of nose time. But when we started talking about, because we do this, we set hides, they set hides, all sorts of things. And then we start talking about how our hides misbehaved.
Yeah. Or a couple of them, not all of them.
A couple of them, not all of them.
A couple of them, yeah.
Right. And how it happens to all of us. And it's actually how you deal with it is the important thing.
Yeah. It's a deal where we're trying to visualize what odor does when we set it out. I don't care how many times you do this, there is going to be the occasional time where you get stumped. So I learned some stuff by that. I mean, I was looking at where the sun was. I was looking at where the wind was coming from. One thing I learned about Iowa is the wind changes hourly.
Yes, it does.
That was blowing me away. That was something that I had to really look at. In fact, I figured out the wind in Iowa changes on an hourly basis, and I even had to go to technology a little bit and see if I could find something that would show me a projection of hourly changes, and that helped a little bit. But you really have to, in an environment like that, you really have to consider the structures that are and what potentially will happen when those changes occur, more so than I think in a place like Texas that I'm from, where the wind predominantly is coming out of the south. There's about 3 months out of the year it changes, and the rest of the time, unless there's a storm, it's pretty much coming out of the south. So it's easy peasy. That was a challenge. Micro analyzing that and what it did environmentally with
Well, that, and I had a search area that literally did change with every group I worked with, because we're using Robin's farm. It's a working farm. And, in the first search, we had extra tractors. And the second search, one of those tractors left, but we got a pickup truck. And then by the time the third group worked it, both of the tractors had left. We still had the pickup truck, but because of the change in the sun, one of the hides just disappeared. Like it didn't, literally the odor just went up and it wasn't available. And it was just a really interesting way of seeing like how it's not even the hide placement specifically where the hide is located, but the fact that they didn't have the tractor right next to it to work the odor off of. And then we had the sun that changed because, the sun moves in the sky, right? And how that really changed the behavior of the hide. It was super cool to watch it.
You talk about being on a working farm. One of the things that I kind of got tickled at is I put source out for one of the HR handlers. When I was trying to organize that around was making sure that source didn't end up in a hay bale before, because Joe was baling hay. So that's things you have to consider when you're working on the working farm.
You don't want to put hides on certain tractor, like during nothing that's going to be doing haying at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's just going to drive away.
And there was a whole conversation about, as I'm watching my husband drive down the lane with the tractor, I'm like, they're collecting hay.
Yeah.
I've got hides out in the hay yard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Okay, we got to go pick up hides because otherwise they're going to get run over by a tractor.
Or covered, or put it like underneath a hay bale, or
And then we have the moving human remains.
oh, yeah.
We set the hides and we walk out there the next day to run the hides, and the hides are not where they were left.
They were rearranged.
Yes, or had migrated halfway across the floor.
The critters.
Yes. It was very interesting because the intentional handling and hide setting people are working the exact same distraction boxes that the distraction camp people worked, only they're now 3 weeks older.
Yeah. Well, we did freeze them in between.
We did freeze them.
Yeah. By the way, guys, that's a hint. This is one of those like pro tip. This is a pro tip. If you want to work distractions, because I know sometimes people get like, it's a pain in the butt to collect all those. If you put them in little Dixie cups, when you're done, just put the Dixie cups just in a bag and freeze them. And then you can just take them out and use them again.
Right.
Pro tip.
Because we're already running people over fresh donkey poop, because I hate to tell it, students leave and I put the barn back the way it belongs. And so the donkeys are making fresh deposits.
Oh, yeah.
And it runs in the whole, it's a working farm.
Uh-huh.
This is how it rolls. But the other fun thing is that we set up hides and we do a lot of interior searches here because it helps make really, really interesting odor pools. There's tight spaces. People have to learn how to use body pressure, all of that sort of stuff. And the wind changes, like Bob was saying. And so we have buildings that it pushes and pulls out of differently based on the time of day. And it's been really fascinating because we've talked about, can we do this in other locations? And the answer is it would be really hard.
Yeah. You would need another 800-acre farm somewhere with all this like really cool stuff on it. And I don't know.
Yes, it's hard.
It is, but we're also centrally located. I mean, we had people from California, Florida, New York,
Canada.
We had somebody from Canada. We had like all the, and then also people from more like the center part, like Illinois and Missouri and everything.
Ohio.
But we had people from really far away. And this is what happens every year when we do this is we get people that kind of come like, they drive a long way. I think our closest person was Oklahoma. Or no, the Missouri one. The Missouri one was probably closer.
Yes. Well, they were about the same distance. But
yeah,
it's very fascinating to work through. And the fun thing is maybe about half the class. So the way that intentional handling is hide setting is set up. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people we get stuck in I always have to make the dog better, right? Which we do. Well, absolutely, that's part of being a trainer. But this class and the way the prereqs that we've put on the classes, you really, really need to your dog needs to absolutely know odor. And they need to know odor and be able to work in a highly distracting environment.
And it also goes back to, in fact, we talked about this a little bit. When you look at trainer ethics, the dog is responsible for one aspect, and that's it. And it's the trained behavior. We're responsible for everything else, including training that behavior. We spend all of our time focused on that animal. Which brings me to the other thing that just really was amazing that you guys did when you wrote this is you set up the last 2 days and you turned the ball over to them. And they set up their own hides. They did it with thoughtfulness, with planning. They ran on the stuff that they set up. They set stuff up to deal with a particular, I started to say problem, but not necessarily a problem, but a particular
it's an objective.
Training objective.
Yeah.
Objective.
And it wasn't all dog related.
No.
They set something up with the idea that, yes, we have to, in the dog's mind, it's always for the dog. but they set it up sometimes to train themselves. Man, that was cool. That was really cool. And again, this goes back to the bad Bob side of me that doesn't push enough. That's something that I learned. That I'll know the dirty little secret is that we learned a lot more than any of them did. But
We did.
anyway, don't say that. Don't say that in public.
No. And that's just the thing, though. When you teach, that's the beautiful thing about teaching is that you learn from every student and you learn from every dog that you watch, and you're seeing what's in front of you, and you're recalling all of the experience and all the observations that you've made before with all the other dogs and all the other handlers.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're adding to that experience when you coach somebody in front of you, and like it just becomes like those people become a part of your knowledge base. So we do, as coaches, absolutely learn from everybody that we coach from. And whether it's I do a lot of it online, but it's still the same thing. You're learning from every person you coach. So I love that we get so much variety here and so many different dogs and a lot of people working different types of odors and different kinds of backgrounds and from all over. And here we are. The dogs are coming in. A lot of them are working in very different climates than what they're used to. And to see how the handlers adapt and really become teammates to their dogs. Because this is about teamwork, right? Because when we start thinking about intentional handling, we're really talking about teamwork. And it goes back to your trainer ethics, right? That we're not putting everything on the dog. That's not fair. It's not fair to put the onus on the dog. And that's where, and so at the end of the week, we start not only see the teamwork of the team improving, we're creating and seeing the thoughtfulness and the intentionality in people's training and hide placement to support their teamwork development with their dog. It is super cool to watch.
And it was really fun because the way that groups worked out this time, we actually had one group that didn't have a cadaver dog handler in it.
Yeah.
So then they were tasked to set out a hide for the cadaver dog people.
Yeah.
And they did it. They did it beautifully. I mean, they consulted with the cadaver dog handler and they went and set it out. And that sort of experience for people is phenomenal. And I think that that's one of the things that I know that me and Stacy and Bob, we talked about this when we were doing chicken workshops, is that as a good instructor, one of the things that we want to prepare our students to do is to go home.
Yeah.
Right? Because the way that the curriculum for this particular week is set out, we are preparing them to go home literally they start preparations Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Because some of what we're teaching, it's not rocket science, but it's put together in such a way that it really seems to click with people.
Well, I can tell you from a nosework perspective, a lot of seminars that you go to is just really, here's some kind of cool hides. Let's just go run hides. And it's a little coaching around running those hides. And I've not seen anything.
I hate to tell you, a lot of search and rescue.
I know, actually.
It's all the same.
I've been to good workshops, though, with search and rescue. But yes, it's a lot of the same.
The diversity of what you saw with odor, and I was not joking earlier when I said the wind changes hourly. We could have the same group working the same hide, and where dogs are acquiring odor changed maybe for each dog, or at least every other dog it changed, and more so than anywhere else I've ever seen. So
there are a lot of really cool things about Iowa.
Why this works so well at this location, it's just phenomenal.
Well, and the other fun thing was having the small dogs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then turning around and having really big dogs, tall dogs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And actually having the whole conversation on sometimes the small dogs have advantages and sometimes the big dogs have advantages.
Yeah.
And it's just, how do you handle through it? And all of those sorts of things in order to help the dog. And we spent a little bit of time talking. Stacy, you came up with a really good analogy for arousal.
Oh, yeah. Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of thought about it as a bowling alley. And this was because I was just starting to think about it. I want to keep the dog in between, like in the lane. And when you start thinking about like a bowling alley, right? You have a gutter on the right and you have a gutter on the left. And what I don't want to do is roll a gutter ball. Although I have to tell you, if you guys ever see me bowl, you'll see a lot of gutter balls. I'm a lot better at handling a dog. Anyway, so what you don't want to do is when you roll that ball, you don't want to end up in the gutter. But if you end up with too high of arousal, you're going to end up in the right gutter. If you end up with too low of arousal, you're going to end up in the left gutter. Every dog's bowling alley or, like their lane is a little different, right? Every dog's lane is a little different in terms of what that's going to look like, how wide that lane is, and I personally like to roll my ball so it rolls up right along the right gutter, but doesn't actually go in the gutter. And then all of a sudden it curves and it knocks down all the pins, right? So that's really how I like to play my ball. But if we can kind of think about it, and when we're talking about arousal, that was the analogy that we kind of came up with. And I think it made a lot of sense for people, just in terms of trying to keep don't end up in the gutter.
The whole, does your dog cycle up or cycle down?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What actually is, because we're taking these teams and pushing them into, right now, the jack barn is like fly central.
Oh, yeah. You got 2 bottle calves in there.
And cows are really messy.
They are.
And
they're cute, though. I have to say, PETA and Peanut are really cute. They're cute, but man, the flies with them.
Yeah, well, because they stand at their little feed trough and that's where they eat and poop all at the same time.
Not like donkeys. Donkeys are very neat.
Donkeys have spots, right? And so you walk in there and even just the noise from the flies. And where did we put Bob? That's where we put Bob.
That's where we put Bob. We're like, where are we going to put Bob?
The new guy.
Let's
put the new guy there.
Put the new guy in the jack barn.
Farm illiterate and won't be better. So, see, I just now figured out. I thought everybody was having that experience. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Oh, we're like, okay, we're gonna give this area to Bob.
Something else on this arousal thing. One of the things that happened, an actual incident during this, was really cool. We had. And we were just talking about that arousal level. We were working in the Quonset hut, and somebody started running their dog, and their dog was kind of like ping-ponging all over the place. High energy really wasn't working yet. So we stopped them. And when we stopped, we started to chat. And I'll be honest with you, I did not even hear the conversation because I was looking at the dog. And I said, lip licking, scratching, genital checking. Those 3 things happened immediately. Boom, boom, boom. And I think the handler even looked down and about the time the dog yawned, and somebody said, and the dog just yawned. And then it was quiet for a second. And then that dog took that deep breath and said, okay, start your dog again. And they started their dog again. And it was in about 25 seconds, they had found all 3 hides.
Right.
And that dog was in the center of the lane when we restarted. And something we talked about that first day was body language, reading your dog. And it's not just reading the dog for odor checks, but it's reading the dog for an arousal check, see where they're at. And I thought that stuck with me so well during that moment because you saw it. It's like, they ticked off 4 of the stress indicators right off the bat. And then I thought about it afterwards. So, because I'd seen that dog work multiple times, and I was thinking, well, why was that moment in time different? And it's because we had, with us included, we had 18 people standing there.
Right.
Oh,
there was a lot of body pressure in a tight spot.
yeah, so I thought, okay, well, if I was intelligent, I would have been stressed too. So that's just part of it. And being able to read that and see that and stay within that lane.
Yeah, and we taught people how to bring their dog up and down. We worked a lot with that. And to see people put that into practice, and you could see the effectiveness of their searches, like just it was cool.
Yeah.
I was all excited because we got to talk about a heads-up display.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And working through and understanding how to read your heads-up display. And as the one group in Joe's shop set a ground hide.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's right.
right, being
Yeah.
able to watch almost every single dog that we watched work the problem did Stacy your wagon wheel concept.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the wagon wheel.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what that?
Sure. So the wagon wheel concept, this is kind of one of those things where when you start to really observe your dog in odor, you're going to start to see, sometimes you will see patterns. And one of them is something that to me, it looks like a wagon wheel. And the source of the odor is at the center of that wagon wheel. But the area where you see odor behavior is on the outer edge of the wagon wheel. So if you kind of see like that odor kind of spreads out and it catches on the vertical surfaces out on the outer edge of like, it's like kind of like a circle or something. And what you end up doing, if you can observe all this dog's odor behavior, you can pretty much triangulate where that source of that odor is probably coming from, which is kind of the idea of the wagon wheel. And then when we start thinking about Robin's heads-up display, it's being able to really evaluate your search area so that it helps you to then discern kind of what you're seeing with that wagon wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really, really fun seeing that one. And then they had placed some other things. And here's the fun thing. You don't do that just once, right? We're rotating you through different buildings.
Yeah.
And even Singing Mesa in order to do stuff.
So Singing Mesa is a horse farm around the corner.
Right. Where
I just want to mention what that was.
Right. And it's a horse campground, right? So a lot of people who are bringing campers to camp, that's where they park and they have plugins and all sorts of things. But it's working there, you get some different aspects and I create ongoing challenges for them. So like this year I walked in and I was like, well, we're not just going to let them work this. So they basically had 4, that's kind of like the Panama Canal. You had locks and it was set up as a no-go back.
Yeah.
And you were also not supposed to allow your dog to forge over the line to solve problems. And you basically had to ask permission to go to each one.
Like a mother may I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Handler challenges. So
Right. And it was interesting to be able to walk with people. And I'm like, what's your search strategy? And if they look at me and say, well, I'm just going to follow my dog, I'd give them a confused German Shepherd look.
Yeah. I actually, if there are certain key phrases where you get the look, like we talked about, there's actually Robin A and Robin B, which is really kind of funny. And it just has to do with who she's coaching.
It does.
You get Robin A if you're a search and rescue handler. You get Robin B if you do nose work. But sometimes if you have like a trigger her phrase,
I have
you get Robin
phase.
A.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are.
I'm just going to see what happens. You get like this look. And I just started busting out laughing. Somebody said that phrase. I thought I was going to pee my pants.
And
all of a sudden her eyes went, whoa. And I'm like, oh boy.
if anybody can imagine, the handler said that. And I just looked at her, probably with the, I can't believe that just came out of your mouth face.
But keep in mind, this is a handler that has known Robin for
forever. Right.
Forever. Yeah. So it was just kind of funny.
I always picture the little dinosaur that on Jurassic Park, right? Where their little thing comes up and it's like,
Like, I think I was the Dilophosaurus. So if you guys kind of like go back and
with
it's
the
one with like,
Barbasol can. Yeah.
yeah, the Barbasol can, and then you have
Yes,
the
yes.
like the fan around the face on.
Yeah,
You know,
that was kind of me.
Yeah.
It was interesting for me to, as we walked through the week, to be able to, the handlers didn't have to say a word, but when they walked in, you could tell what their search strategy was by just how they positioned themselves and moved through the space.
Yes. We ended up with handlers that learned how that if they're given a set of hides, that they can alter how they work it based on their training objectives and the dog that they're handling to get the most out of it. And that was like a really cool outcome, because when you go to places and somebody else sets your hides, we taught them how to manipulate their approach in order to be successful no matter what's set out there.
Yeah, the thing that I really, again, that blew me away with this concept, the way you guys did this, is, a lot of people would say, oh, you're going to get a dog that becomes handler dependent. It's the complete opposite. We saw handlers that were moving all over the place early on really without a thought process behind. When they started actually being part of the team with their dog, their movement dwindled to almost zero.
Yeah.
Because when they moved, it had a purpose. And when they were still, it had a purpose. Everything became efficient. It worked. And the last thing it did was create any type of handler dependence. And the dogs were so much more relaxed.
Yes.
Because of it. It was it's hard for me to even explain, but you didn't see dogs that were torn between looking for odor and keeping an eye on this crazy person that is performing in front of a group of people.
It was cool to see that, because when you start to see that handling come together, you actually see less of the handling.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks incredibly fluid.
Yeah. It looks effortless. It's like the better the handling, the less you notice.
Where they're learning, you may see that intentional shoulder turn while they're learning, because they're trying to, the handlers are trying to learn. Like I said, some of the problems were set up with them specifically wanting to get their dog into a certain area in an efficient manner, did not cause the dog to become dependent. Okay. And you might see a turn, and then you smell rubber burning because you knew the handler was thinking about it, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Gray matter.
Yeah, as it becomes second nature, that the smell's going to go away. It's just going to be something that is beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
And it was interesting for me handlers found out that they had more dog.
Yeah.
And because we have safe environments where they can take dogs off leash, they also learn some things about their dogs, even from a spatial fashion of, my dog won't go in unless I really step forward and push them into a tight spot, because they were so used to. And one of the things I mentioned forcefully was, when you take your dog off leash, stop working like you're on leash.
Yeah.
Right. And so because and keep in mind, people, we're coaching on the fly.
Yeah.
So there's actually been a suggestion that we start putting left and right on the t-shirts.
Right. Because we're
on the shoulders,
so they can look down at it.
Yeah. Take a step forward with your left foot. So people are like, what? So not only are we having to coach on the fly and translate left and right and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's hard.
But then the student has to take that in, watch their dog, figure out what we're saying, and look around for whatever stupid landmark I chose to pick out that time that I want you to turn and face. All at the same time.
Like a calf catcher, which I didn't know what a calf catcher was until
right.
Yeah. But anyway.
We had a whole conversation about the calf gotcha. They're like, oh, what?
Yeah. Oh, and then there was the windrower that we decided was some sort of thing from War of the Worlds.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
So maybe we'll have to, when we have people do a farm walk, we'll have to maybe send along a tour guide and be like, well, this is that, and this is that.
This is what this is used.
And something else that I learned, Stacy was able to point out that all John Deere tractors have like different kinds of mustaches and eyes.
Yes.
I didn't know that, but apparently they do.
And now Joe's not able to unsee that. So I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So we came up with another concept over this week that sparked a lot of thought. The donut.
Food.
Yes, the donut of effectiveness.
Yes.
Right? And because we were talking about when we take dogs off leash, where there's kind of like an outer edge, like a lot of times people refer to like a bubble, right? And that outer edge, like once they get past that, they're not as effective. But when we also kind of think about it, when we crowd the dog, they're not
as effective. So it's
a donut, right? And we're looking for the sweet spot,
which is the donut, not the donut hole.
Yeah.
Right. The donut itself. So we started to get into like, in some cases, depending on our training and the dog's history and how we set our hides, right? We create that donut and we actually end up training the donut.
Yes.
So it was really interesting because when we're looking at some of our like the search and rescue dogs tend to range out more, especially our live find dogs, right? They may range out even farther. Like their donut's actually really big. And then Bob was talking about how dogs that maybe start in USAR, their donut is actually created by the size of the rubble pile that they're used to working
Right.
on. And you had a really cool.
Well, I in a really horrible little club, and then I had a USAR dog get killed in the line of duty. And I had always started all of my dogs with wilderness type work first. I mean, the search is the search. And with Gracie, when she came along, I really focused more on the USAR stuff. She had never really worked any big problems. And I had to teach her to range further because her donut stopped at the typical rubble pile size. And I didn't have any of the 25-acre rubble piles like where they recycle everything in California to work on. So that was her donut, the edge of it. And so I started doing pop-ups, 1,200-yard pop-ups, just fun stuff to get her out away from me. I had to do it. And then I realized, wow, I really need to work on my recall. Because she got nothing about ranging.
Whoops.
Which brings me up to another thing, too, that we also talked about. This was that whole idea of cyclical training and something my wife came up with. It's the whole spinning plate thing. You get this plate of training spinning, and then this plate will slow down. So you've got to get this plate spinning. And then you find out, oh, I need a new plate. So you add a plate, and then you got to go back and spin this one. And pretty soon you're spinning plates, and you want that cycle to be as big as possible for the dog to give you time to start new plates as you need those things. So that's all part of this too.
Right.
I think I'm living that with a bark alert right now with Jack.
That first thing we talked about. Yeah.
And you will be for the life of his entire working life.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah. And if you guys, go back and listen to the bark alert episode that we just published. Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's do takeaways.
My takeaway is I'm going to say that I just it was such an incredible week, and I love the changes that we've made here, and to see the evolution of the handlers over the period of the week. It's really freaking cool. And it just makes me so happy that I've moved out to the Midwest, because it means we can do more of this type of stuff. So yay!
Yay!
My biggest takeaway was laying out a good, solid plan and pushing the students that I'm coaching. I need to stop being afraid to lay something out there pretty far in front of them. When you get people that are motivated, these people are obviously motivated. They came from all over the country to play with us. So when that motivation is there, go ahead and put that carrot way out there, but have the path to reach the carrot, and they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They will do it. That was the thing that stretched me so that I can now go forward and stretch the students that I'm coaching.
My biggest takeaway is that, one, you guys are freaking awesome fun to teach with.
Oh, I love working with you guys.
You guys. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was.
This is a fun team.
Yeah. A very fun team who we do set hard hides. I'm going to do maybe a little math.
Let me take.
Hang on. Oh, no, I can pull up the phone, right? Okay, Bob, how long have you been doing detection work?
30 years now, I guess, something like that.
Okay, Stacy, you?
12 years.
Okay. That's 68 years of experience.
That included you.
Yeah, that includes me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 68 years of experience in one location, and we still have hides misbehave.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right? But it is so fun to see the students. And I think people listening to this have to understand, you know what? Yes, I love teaching with Stacy and Bob. The fun thing is watching the students come in and going from that first day where they're like, this feels weird, to day 5 where they're like, oh, I got this. And it was really, really fun. And what we're starting to do now is we encourage students to have other students video their stuff, including the coaching that comes after.
Yeah.
And they go home and they watch them. So you may think you're getting, we let out a half an hour early. No, your homework every night is to go home and watch your videos.
Yeah.
And the amount of coaching we were doing on days 2 and 3, that by the afternoon of day 4 and into day 5, then did not occur.
Yeah.
Because they were self-correcting on the fly.
Exactly. And that's something that I have pretty much as long as I can remember have told students, videotape yourself.
Yes.
Watch the video. You will remember stuff that I said and go, oh, I need to arrange that differently or whatever. Of course, if it's a husband and wife, I always tell them only video yourself because I don't want to end up doing marriage counseling. That's
Yeah.
a totally different thing. But yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, guys, for a wonderful week and for jumping on a call so we could hot wash everybody. And just for everybody else, we will be offering this version of intentional handling and hide setting again next year. We are currently figuring out dates and times and all that sort of stuff. So once we get that all figured out, probably around the first of the year, we will push that out. So thanks, everybody, and go train.
Canine detection, collide.